some of the worst people in history understood attention better than most creators today. And that's uncomfortable to say, but it's true. They understood if you want people to listen, remember, repeat, and understand an idea, you don't just give them the information. You give them emotion and you give them identity. You give them a simple message they can repeat. Now, obviously, this video is not about copying evil people. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding something most creators ignore. Attention has rules, and those rules can be used in a dangerous way, or they can be used ethically to make your content clearer, more understanding, more engaging, and better. Because if you're trying to grow on YouTube, you're not just competing with other creators, you're competing with every person's distractions, emotions, fears, insecurities, etc. And that's the real game. Most creators think YouTube growth is about tactics, to get better thumbnails, better titles, better ideas. Although all these things matter, but they are just tools that are surface level. Why does someone click? Why do they keep watching? Why do they love one creator and ignore the other? Why do they remember one sentence from the video but forget everything else? Why do they subscribe to some channels only after one video and then watch another channel for months without subscribing? That's what we are talking about today. Because the creators who grow the fastest are not always the smartest, they are not the most talented, they are not always the most experienced. A lot of times they are the creators who understand attention the best. And attention is not logical, it's emotional. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't click because they understand. They click because they feel something. They feel curious, they feel called out. They feel fear. They feel afraid they are making a mistake. They feel like there's a secret they are missing out. They are feeling the video is speaking directly to them. That's why a useful video which is boring always fails, while a simple video with a strong emotional angle can explode. YouTube is not just a knowledge platform, it's also an attention platform. And on the attention platform, the best idea doesn't always win. The clearest, most emotionally charged idea always wins. So let's break down the dark psychology behind YouTube growth, and more importantly, how to use it without being manipulative. The first rule of attention is this: simple messages spread faster than smart ones. This is where intelligent creators fail. They know too much, so they overcomplicate and try to explain everything, and that's boring. They want to add context, examples, they go into deep details, and the viewer didn't click because of that, so they lose interest and click away. Because the human brain doesn't remember complexity easily. It remembers simple idea. So think about these two types of titles: an analysis of algorithmic recommendation systems and viewer behavior patterns. This might be accurate, but no one feels anything. Now compare that title to the algorithm has changed. It's simple, clear, and emotional. Immediately the viewer thinks, wait, what has changed? Did I miss something? Am I using the outdated strategy? And this is why simple wins, not because people are dumb, but because people are busy. They scroll fast, they are distracted, they are tired, they are making split-second decisions. So if your idea is hard to understand, it doesn't matter how good it is, because it dies before it even started. That's why your video idea needs to pass a one-sentence test. Can someone understand the point of your video in just one sentence? If not, your idea is too complicated, and complicated doesn't spread. Clear message spreads. The second rule is repetition, and this one is powerful, because the more someone hears a message, the more familiar it feels. And the more familiar something feels, the more believable it becomes. This is why phrases matter, this is why catchphrases matter, like this one.
Good evening, everyone. My name is PewDiePie.
This is why creators become known for one idea. You don't want people to watch one of your video and think, oh, that was useful. You want them to think, finally, I found a creator who explains things clearly. Or, that's the creator who helped me turn my viewers into new clients. Or, that's the creator who actually shows me what works. That repetition builds a mental shortcut. And on YouTube, mental shortcuts are everything. Because when your video appears in someone's feed, they won't analyze your whole channel. They make a quick emotional decision. Do I know this person? Do I trust this person? Do I understand what they are about? This is why random content kills the channel. Let's say 1 week you talk about AI and technology, the next week you are talking about fitness, the third week you are talking about animals, then about personal finance, traveling, and productivity. And then the audience doesn't know what they should remember you for. And you even might be interesting, but you're not memorable. Since there are so many channels on YouTube, if you're not memorable, you will be replaced very quickly. But repetition doesn't mean you should say the exact same sentence each video. It means repeating the same core idea, the same worldview, the same enemy, the same transformation. For your channel, that might be stop chasing views, start building trust, or YouTube growth is not luck, it's a psychology, or clear thinking always wins. The more people hear that from you, the more they associate with you. And that's how your channel becomes a brand. The third rule is emotion. And this is, in my opinion, the most important one. Because people like to believe they are making logical decisions all the time. But 9 times out of 10, logic comes after the emotion. That's true for buying, politics, emotions, you name it. And it's definitely true for YouTube. A viewer doesn't click on your video because they carefully calculated the value of your information. They click because something about it triggered them. Maybe it triggered curiosity, maybe it triggered fear, maybe it triggered happiness or sadness, maybe ambition, maybe frustration, or maybe it just makes them feel seen. This is why how to grow your YouTube channel is weaker than why you are getting a lot of views but get 0 subscribers. The first one is just information and the second one is emotion. The second one speaks to a real frustration and then the viewer thinks, wait, that's me. And when you have them think about that's me, this is where you get their attention. This is why mistake-based titles do really well. For example, 7 YouTube mistakes beginners make, or why your thumbnails don't get clicks, or you're using AI the wrong way. These work because they create personal tension. The viewer is not just curious, they are wondering if they are guilty as well. But you have to be careful with this. There's a difference between creating an emotional relevance and manipulating insecurity. The ethical version is, I understand the problems you are making, and I can help you fix them. The manipulative version is, you're completely broken and you need me to save you. Don't do the second one. Your job is not to make people feel small. Your job is to make them feel understood. That's what builds real trust. The fourth rule is identity. People don't just watch content for tips. They watch content that confirms or upgrades what they want to become. This is how some creators build extremely loyal audiences, and this is how the dictators manipulate the masses. They are not just teaching, they are giving people an identity, and that can be dangerous. And on the other hand, it creates a positive environment and great community. This changes how people see themselves, and suddenly watching your videos is not just about learning, it's about becoming. Hopefully, becoming a better person, better creator, positive thinker, stronger mind, stronger body, having more faith, or whatever you want them to become. And if they feel like you have made them a better person, they will defend you online, they will subscribe, they will share your videos with others, they will leave positive comments, and they will buy from you. The fifth rule is every message needs a strong enemy. The enemy doesn't have to be a person or a group or something hateful. It should be an idea, a mistake, a wrong belief, or a bad strategy. Because without an enemy, your content has no tension. And without tension, people leave. If you ever watch a politician give their speech, you will see that they can create tension. And they also, with actors, if you go and watch a theater play, they will do this to keep you hooked. They will create tension, they won't speed up everything, and you will be glued to your chair. Because in average content with just generic thinking, there's no conflict. And conflict also creates attention. That's why a lot of strong videos have contrasts inside of them. Old versus new, beginner versus expert, views versus the client, generic content versus clear positioning, automation versus taste. That contrast gives the viewers something to follow, because us humans are wired for conflict. We want to know who's wrong, who made a mistake, what's dangerous, what's a better way. If your video is just a list of tips, it feels flat. But if your video is fighting against an idea, then it becomes interesting. So before you think about your next video idea, ask yourself, who is the enemy? Is it inconsistency? Is it wrong belief? Is it overthinking? Is it weak thumbnails? Is it chasing trends instead of building trust? Once you identify the enemy, your video becomes much easier to structure, because now you're not just explaining, you are leading the viewer from the wrong belief to the better one, and that's storytelling. The sixth rule is personal involvement. This is where a lot of creators lose people. They talk about a topic, but they don't make the viewer feel the topic is about them. And if the viewer is not personally involved, they won't stay. So if you're watching this video and you don't feel like I'm talking directly to you, you have probably already lost interest. So that's why at the beginning you also need a strong hook. Average hooks just introduce the topic, but strong hooks create personal stakes. And if you don't know how to write hooks, you can email me, and my email is in the description of this video. With the hook, you have to make the viewer feel like you have diagnosed their problem, but not in a harsh way, in the helpful way. I see what's happening to you, and I'm going to help you fix that. That's how you create attention without being manipulative. The seventh rule is certainty. And this is a little bit tricky because you don't want to come across as arrogant, because no one likes arrogant people. But you also can't be unconfident and sound unsure. If every sentence you say sounds like maybe this could possibly help you, no one is going to trust you. That sounds very unsure. Strong creators speak with clarity. They say, this is the mistake, this is what we're going to change, and this is how we're going to do. They can show you proof, and they can show you the whole process. You don't have to hide anything. That certainty makes people relax, because they feel like they're in safe hands, and when they follow this person, they will get the result. And this doesn't mean you should pretend you know things that you don't. It just means you should remove uncertainty and softness from your language, because what you feel, others feel as well. If you're not confident, everyone can feel that, and that's horrible. When you're clear, that clarity builds authority. The viewer doesn't need you to be perfect, they just want you to be clear. The eighth rule is curiosity. And curiosity happens when you give people some information, just enough to make them care, but not enough information to get them satisfied. The gap between those two is what makes people want to stay and watch the whole video. This is why titles like these work. The YouTube strategy that stopped working. What best creators know that beginners don't. Or this one, the dark psychology behind YouTube growth. Each one opens up a loop. What used to work before but doesn't work now? What do these top creators know and I don't? What's that dark psychology that makes us click? The viewer clicks because they want closure. But here's the important part. Curiosity must be specific. If the title is too vague, it feels like a clickbait. For example, you won't believe this. That's curiosity, but it's cheap. A better version is the YouTube mistake that makes good videos fail. Now, there's curiosity, but there's also a clarity. The viewer knows the topic, but they just don't know the answers yet. And that's the sweet spot. Clear to understand, incomplete enough to click. And that's what you want. The next one is the ethical line. And that's the most important part of the video. Because everything we talked about so far can be used in two ways. You can either use psychology to communicate better, or you can use it to manipulate people. And these are not the same thing. Manipulation hides the truth, and communication reveals it. Manipulation makes people weaker, and communication makes them feel more confident. And you also want to build yourself a positive community. You don't want people to feel discouraged or people to feel feared or unconfident after they watch your video. At least that's not my goal. So when you use these principles, the goal is not to just trick people into watching. The goal is to make the value of your video impossible to ignore. But if your content genuinely helps people, then packaging it well doesn't feel dishonest. And that's your responsibility. A great video with boring title won't help anyone because no one will see it. No one wants to click on the boring title. The same is with useful idea that can help a lot of people, but your thumbnail is weak and no one will open that video. So yes, use curiosity, use emotion, use clarity, use simple messaging, use repetition, use identity, but use all of these to serve the viewer, not to exploit them. Because there's a big difference between influence and manipulation. And long term, that difference matters. Because manipulation might get you a click, but trust is what builds up your channel. And what does all this mean for your next video? What you should actually do with all of this? Before you make your next video, ask these 5 questions. First one is, what is the simple message? If someone had to explain your video, could they do it in 1 sentence? The second question is, what emotions does this video create? Curiosity, fear, ambition, confidence, frustration. The third one is, what belief are you challenging? Because if there's no enemy, there's no tension. The fourth one is, why does this matter to the viewer personally? Not the creators in general, not people online, the viewer that's watching your video. The fifth one is, what identity does this video help step into? Are they becoming a smarter person? Do they learn a new skill? Do they get more confident? Do they get more happy? Do they get entertained? Do you reveal something that they didn't know before? And if you can answer all of these 5 questions, your content immediately becomes stronger. Because now you're not just making content, you are shaping attention. So yes, there's dark psychology behind YouTube growth. But the lesson is not to manipulate people. The lesson is that attention is emotional. People don't click because they understand everything. They click because they feel something. They don't keep watching because you have information. They keep watching because you create tension, clarity, and momentum. And they don't subscribe because one random tip. They subscribe because your content helps them become the person they want to become. So if your videos are not growing, don't just ask, is this useful? Instead, ask, is this clear? Is this emotional? Is this memorable? Does this feel like it's talking directly to one person? Because that's where YouTube growth really starts. Not in the algorithm, but in the viewer's mind. And if you want to see how this applies to AI specifically, watch this video next.